Believe me, many people have told us.
The best segment. It was the greatest. But this week we're going to do just a little traditional starter sit. All right, with all the injuries. If you missed injuries, hit up our episode from 2 days ago, injuries and waiver wire pickups for this week. We're going to talk about some of those guys that we mentioned in the waiver wire. What's up, Packers? We are back with our fantasy and chill. Nice crack of the beer.
Save it.
We got our week 2 recap, week 3 preview, getting you ready for week 3 in NFL fantasy football. All right, we're just going to cut to the chase, get it started like we always do with our
fantasy studs. I mentioned last week that I'm going to try to keep these to just players that score over 30 fantasy points for the week. Shit.
We're not going to spend a lot of time on a lot of these guys because it ended up being a lot this week. But we're going to start out with the number 1 fantasy stud of the week, running back of the Green Bay Packers, Aaron Jones. Britt is the Aaron Jones truther on set. He had 18 carries for 168 yards and 2 touchdowns to go along with 4 catches, 68 yards, and another receiving touchdown. All right, so Packers have looked pretty amazing through 2 weeks. We kind of said at the beginning of the year this year could go 2 different ways for the Packers. We said they could either crumble because Aaron Rodgers pissed they drafted Jordan Love, or he could be out to set the world on fire, which looks like what he's doing. And they have been amazing so far. Aaron Jones is the number 1 running back in fantasy right now. He had 22 touches, very efficient. Britt, you're our Aaron Jones guy. Do you see this slowing down at all?
I mean, not really. If they continue to hand him the ball, he's catching the ball too. He's had 4 catches in both games. And I mean, they play New Orleans and Atlanta. Those are both going to be high scoring games, I think. And then he's got a bye week and 5. And then he goes Tampa Bay, Houston, Minnesota. I don't see this slowing down anytime soon. Aaron Jones is a stud. Could finish RB1 at the end of the year. Especially with Saquon and McCaffrey.
With the 2 top guys out, the chances there for someone to rise and finish number 1. He's showing breakaway speed too. How long was that? He had a long touchdown run, right?
I believe so.
I remember watching it on.
There was so many players that had long touchdown runs that I forgot.
I want to say that we had a really long touchdown run, or at least
he ripped off a 75-yard touchdown run.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
He's very efficient. Like, dude, he's got some moves and he makes people miss. And people were worried about AJ Dillon. I'm not worried about him. I didn't draft him, but you shouldn't be worried about him.
Yeah, I'm getting shit on it on YouTube right now because I said he's due for regression, and it's week 2, people. Okay, like
there's still time.
There's still time for regression. So whoever it was that commented, I know who you are. I remember your face. I know you said you're going to come back on later in the year and comment again, so I'll be ready.
The reason why I'm maybe backing off that a little bit is because the other running backs haven't done anything. We thought they were going to eat into those touches.
Jamal Williams had a decent game too.
The Packers look like one of the best teams in the NFL right now. Granted, they played the Vikings, who haven't looked that great, and
Detroit.
Who
hasn't looked that great either.
But
we need to keep that in context.
Schedule guy just brought up the next few games. Good matchups. So
New Orleans though.
New Orleans is tough, but usually a lot of points scored in those games.
Yeah,
the Raiders just put up almost 40 points on them. So
it's in the dome too. It's at New Orleans. I feel like those are always shootouts for some reason.
Yeah, but they actually held we'll move on pretty quickly here, but they held Josh Jacobs in check. Not like for Josh Jacobs getting 20+ carries, he didn't have that many points.
True. Well, for the Raiders is the only option, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Hey, my boy Darren
Besides Waller, your boy.
All right, speaking of the Saints, another running back fantasy stud, Alvin Kamara of the New Orleans Saints, 13 carries, 79 yards, and 2 touchdowns to go along with 9 catches for 95 yards. If you watch the end of this game, I think in the last 2 drives he had to have caught at least 5 or 6 balls. Drew Brees was just dumping it off to him.
Drew Brees can't throw the ball deep.
Yeah.
A little worrisome.
I mean, they are playing each other, and the Packers are very susceptible to the run in this coming game. But yeah, he's basically, without Michael Thomas there, Alvin Kamara is his best option right now as a receiver. And he, what'd you say, he had 9 receptions, right?
Yeah, 9 catches.
9,
yes,
yeah.
On 9 targets.
Yeah. It was just insane how bad Drew Brees looked, but also how much he was checking down to Alvin Kamara. And I guess we should expect it because that's what Kamara is, but He's paying
Hey,
off
Matt.
dividends right now.
You had Kamara last year, right?
I did. You don't got to remind me.
How many touchdowns did he have?
I mean, I can just look real quick. I guess I do have it pulled up right here.
Oh, I figured you knew. I think it was 3.
6.
Is that what it says?
Well, look, total touchdowns 2, 4, 6.
Okay, yeah.
But 4 of them were in the last 2 games.
Yeah.
Okay. So he had 1 touchdown through the first. What is that? No, he had 2 touchdowns through the first 15 games
weeks.
or 14 games. This year, he already has 4 touchdowns. I think Kamara's answered the critics, basically, is what I'm saying.
It's a great sign that he's looking like the Kamara of 2 years ago when he burst onto the scene. I look for him to keep it up. He's their best running option. Like Matt said, with Thomas out, he's their best receiving option. He basically is the Saints. He's the Saints' offense right now without Michael Thomas, basically, with Drew Brees throwing the ball 5 yards a pop. So I look for him to continue to score a lot of points. And you can't, like, these running backs that are run through the tackle guys, like, I feel like you can scheme to shut them down. Guys like Kamara, McCaffrey, Barkley, like, it's hard to shut them down just because they do so much. So I don't really see a defense just being able to just completely stop him. It's just going to be his own offense is going to be stopped.
This was a game that they were down in, and he obviously got way more play than Latavius Murray. I don't think Latavius Murray had more than 5 touches, maybe. I don't know off the top of my head, but yeah, it's...
No, I think he had a little bit more than that. Latavius is actually getting some work. Oh, wait, no, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
This game, the first game, that's when Latavius got a lot of touches because they
That's
were
what
up.
I was thinking of, yeah.
Yeah, so it's good to see that when they're down, Kamara gets a lot of play.
Yeah, they were up 10-0. I thought it was going to be a blowout, and the Raiders just slowly started coming back.
The Raiders.
All right.
All right, next fantasy stud. We're just going to kind of combine all these into one. I mentioned we're going to keep this to only players that scored over 30 points. Well,
there's so many quarterbacks.
There were 7 quarterbacks this week that scored over 30 points, which kind of goes back to what we've been saying all offseason, how deep the quarterback position is. If you don't believe us, go right now to your waiver wire and look at about 5 to 6 QBs that you probably wouldn't mind starting this week for your team. Okay, but we had Pat Mahomes, who had 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, 50 rushing yards. Matt Ryan had almost 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. Kyler Murray had a passing touchdown, 2 rushing touchdowns. Russell Wilson, 5 touchdowns. Cam Newton, almost 400 yards passing and a touchdown to go along with 2 rushing touchdowns. Josh Allen, once again, had over 400 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Crazy.
But our number 1 QB stud of the week was Dak Prescott. 34 of 47, 450 yards and a touchdown, 5 carries for 18 yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns. Okay, so was this a product of him throwing so much because they were down so much? Yes, probably it was.
Yes.
But the 3 rushing touchdowns, that if you're a Zeke owner,
okay.
I'm just saying you hated it, all right? That's 3 goal line carries. Dak.
What pissed me off?
What pissed you off is that we're sitting out on Britt's porch, and the Dak owner who you're playing is Sam, and so it looks like Zeke's going to get the touchdowns for you, and Dak runs them all in.
Zeke scored. Okay, first of all, Dak was in concussion protocol, I guess. He went to the tent. Zeke scores. They review it. He's actually short by 1 inch. Dak comes back in the game and then steals a touchdown.
He's probably actually still concussed.
Probably still concussed,
yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was frustrating. But, I mean, Zeke, Deke, that could be their relationship name. Zeke still had plenty of points for me. Dak just went off.
Right, but if just looking at those 3 short touchdowns, it's what could have been.
Yeah. I still got my ass kicked.
That's true. He lost by a lot. But this is a team, the Cowboys' defense is bad. They got a ton of injuries. They're going to be in shootouts all the time. Dak finished number 2 last year, right?
Yeah.
So this is not surprising. We had him ranked as our number 4 quarterback. He might finish higher than that is what it looks like. I don't see him slowing down. But the main takeaway from this, just like I mentioned, just like we said, quarterback is ridiculously deep. Even though I broke the rules and I drafted Mahomes early, you don't need to draft a quarterback early. All of these guys were available later. Cam Newton was maybe not even drafted in your league, and he looks very good, or at least playable, serviceable as a fantasy quarterback through 2 weeks. Like I said, go to your waiver wire right now. You'll see guys like Gardner Minshew, Ryan Tannehill, those guys that you could be starting. All right, quarterback is so deep, and yeah, Dak was the top guy this week, but it could have been any of those ones.
I want to ask a question. With the exception of Patrick Mahomes, throw him out. which one of these quarterbacks are you going with the rest of the season? Dak, Josh Allen, Cam, Russell, Kyler, Matt Ryan? It's
They're all
tough.
really
Jackson on
good.
there?
No. Yeah, I'm just talking about the fantasy studs this week.
I mean, I was the highest on Kyler coming into the season, but I'm Kyler, Wilson, Dak. I don't think there's a wrong answer of those three. I
think it's gotta
don't
be
know if
Wilson.
Josh Allen will keep this up to this level.
Probably not.
And
No.
Cam Newton is going to have some bad Cam Newton games. But if they keep, I think it was pretty crazy. He went to New England, and people were worried about him being able to succeed. But you forget that he's going to the best coach in the NFL who knows that this isn't Tom Brady. And if you watch the games, he has completely changed that offense to let Cam Newton run all these running plays, 11 carries, 47 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels, those are two of the best guys in the business. They're going to put Cam Newton in a position. They're going to put him in a position to succeed. All right, so as long as those two coaches are there, I think a quarterback will be able to succeed there, and Cam Newton showing it.
Oh, we're going with Wilson or Kyler, right?
But I'm going with Wilson or Kyler or Dak.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Dak, too. I forgot about Dak.
But,
just throw them all.
Hey, Matt Ryan, every other year guy. It's one of those years.
He ain't got the rushing floor, man.
Yeah, but the thing is, their defense is so bad that he's going to be throwing a shit ton.
It is.
And for some reason, they don't like to give Todd Gurley touchdowns. So.
Yeah, well, it'll come. He got one week 1.
All right, so that's our studs for the week. Like I said, we kind of just wrapped all the QBs into one, but there were 7 quarterbacks that scored over 30 points.
Surprised there's no receivers.
The closest receiver was, guess it?
Tyreek.
Robinson? No, Diggs?
Our boy, Calvin Ridley.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I forgot.
Fantasy and Chill's favorite receiver.
Yeah, that's why we didn't bring him up. Okay.
Yeah, someone's just going to make a poster that just has like Calvin Ridley and Aaron Jones just for us to look at. Like, just so we can be reminded.
Oh, he barely
Guys we
beat
talked shit
Diggs,
about.
okay, by 1 point.
Yeah.
Terry McLaurin had a good game. I know some people were a little worried about him about the first game, but he bounced back.
Yep. All right, real quick, let's talk about how we did in our GFA league with a little cheers segment. Matt, do you have that music queued up? While Matt's queuing up the music, Britt, why don't you go ahead? Who are you cheersing this week?
Let me go back.
Or
Here,
first
you
of
can
all,
go
did you win your matchup?
No, I did. Well, jury's still out. Stat corrections should be coming out tonight. Me and Turpin, we had someone in our league say there will never be a tie, and I can't remember who it is, but we've had 2 ties in GFA history, and it's me and Turpin.
Okay,
And
well let's talk about the first tie where y'all scored 66 points each. That was fucking terrible, and the fact that you tied, you should be praising God that you tied that game.
No, because I should have won because tiebreaker is running back.
I forgot to pour Matt
running
one.
back points. Now I would have lost this one, so you know what? I'm prepared to take.
Okay,
the
while
L
we're on
that
that
and
topic
just stay a
though,
tie.
can we talk about how
I'm
stupid?
going to turn the cheers off real quick.
Can we talk about how stupid having a tiebreaker in fantasy football is?
There's
I don't
no
agree
fair way
with
to
it,
do it.
but I think it needs to be there because
it
the
doesn't.
odds of a tie, like you said yourself, there will
The odds
never
are
be a tie.
extremely low.
And
Extremely
the odds
extremely
that
low.
happens, I am okay with a tiebreaker in the event that it happens.
But tell me a fair way to do a tiebreaker then.
Running back points is not. No, there's no fair way. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying.
Oh, how is that fair?
Yeah, but you said it yourself. The odds of it happening are.
Okay,
there's no
but if
way.
that does happen, then there's just a tie.
It does, and it has happened twice.
Okay, but it should just stay a tie. There's ties in the NFL. How often does it happen? Maybe once a season, but there's ties.
That's a good point.
The only thing I'm saying is you keep saying running back points. What if I went no RB and wide receiver
just because that's the
strategy?
default. That's the default. That's the only reason I say it.
But there's no tiebreaker that makes any sense.
Yeah,
I
in the
agree.
NFL,
There
they
is
should
no
do-
tiebreaker that makes sense, but the odds of it happening are so small that if it does happen, I'm okay with something deciding it.
In the NFL, I was going to say, what they should do for ties is whatever running back has more yards, they get the win.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, let's get
God
back.
shaming you.
Let's get back on track. Britt, did you say who you were cheersing?
I'm cheersing James Conner because I know several people who did not start him, and they drafted him in the 3rd, 4th round, just like I did, and they thought he was still hurt. I played him, 16 carries, 106 yards, and a touchdown, 20 points. James, oh boy.
All right.
It's a good pick.
You want to go? You want me to?
I want you to go.
Okay. My cheers. So week 1, I didn't score any touchdowns really at all. It was a rough week. Week 2 was kind of starting out similar. I was hanging in there in my matchup, and so we were over at Britt's house pretty much like the majority of our league, or at least half our league was over there watching the games. And I sat there, I said, it was late in the afternoon games. I said, man, if I'm going to have a shot here, I need Mahomes and Tyreek to hook up on a deep one.
Oh.
And what was it? Maybe less than 5 minutes later, Mahomes threw about, a 54-yard bomb to Tyreek. Tyreek dives, catches it, rolls in the end zone without getting touched. So my cheers goes, I'm going to stay faithful, loyal to my stack, my Chiefs stack that I invested probably entirely too much of my team into. But Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, I'm going to live and die by the Chiefs stack this year. So that's who I'm cheersing.
A good one. You called for it and it happened. And it was you actually needed it pretty badly.
Oh, I mean, I won by 0.8, so yeah, I needed it. Oh, yeah, I didn't even mention, I hung on. I won by 0.8. I had Lockett on Sunday night. My opponent had Carson. Very close there at the end, but I hung on to it.
Very close. All right. I could probably cheers my entire team because they went off, but somehow I still lost by 30, so...
So, just to recap, Matt scored, what did he score, 140?
140 something, yeah, about 140.
And he played a guy that scored about 175, which at the time, last time I looked, it was like good for 5th or 6th best all time in our league scoring. So, sucks for Matt. He had to lose to that, but
it happens.
It's fantasy.
It happens. But I'll go with, I see we're talking about one of my boys coming up that I was thinking about cheersing, but I'll go with Darren Waller. Looked like a beast. Basically, he was the Raiders' offense, I'd say. He won them that game, I think, because the Saints couldn't guard him at all. There was a guy I was targeting in the draft, and I'm glad he fell to me. He's very George Kittle-like without the touchdowns, and now he finally got a touchdown. Okay, nope.
I can't.
All right, and that's who I'm cheers to.
It's backwards. I can't do it.
Yeah. He's George Kittle dark. Yeah.
Oh, okay. See. Okay.
Okay. I was about to say something. Never mind. So cheers to you.
Cheers.
Darren Waller.
To being 1-1, or in Britt's case, to being 1-0-1.
Yeah.
It's better than 1-1, Britt. Yep, you're undefeated. Hang it on the wall. Make a poster. Make a banner.
Read a book. Do a report.
All right, so last week we kicked off a segment called Smoke or Joke. It was a hit. I got tons of comments. People saying they loved it. All right. This week,
believe me, many people have told us
the best segment. It was the greatest. But this week we're going to do just a little traditional start or sit. All right, with all the injuries. If you missed injuries, hit up our episode from 2 days ago, injuries and waiver wire pickups for this week. We're going to talk about some of those guys that we mentioned in the waiver wire. But we meant, just to say it again, there were so many injuries this week. So many players are going to be started this week that you never would have dreamed of starting. And we're going to talk about some guys that have shown some early promise that maybe have they risen enough for you to be able to have confidence in starting them. So we got quite a few names to go through here. We don't have to spend a lot of time on a lot of them, especially the ones towards the end. But I want to talk about really these guys at the top and whether you feel confident in starting them yet. All right, so first name, he was drafted early. One of the hot topics of the late offseason, Leonard Fournette was signed by the Tampa Bay Bucks. He had 12 carries for 103 yards and 2 touchdowns, 4 catches for 13 yards. A lot of that came on one long rushing touchdown at the end of the game when they were kind of icing it. So, I mean, I don't know how confident you felt about his entire game, but Matt, you are the Fournette owner here. Do you feel confident in starting him this week?
Are we saying this week or throughout the entire season?
I'm saying this week.
This week, they are playing the Broncos. And I don't know if it even matters who would they be playing this week. Because for some reason, Bruce Arians came out and said Rojo's still the starter after they basically benched him when he fumbled the ball. Brady cast him to the bench. Basically. It's Brady's team. If Brady doesn't like you, that's what happens. But Fournette looked good. Definitely a lot better than Rojo. I'm not going to be starting him this week because the Broncos are a tough matchup. 7th lowest points per game against running backs. So if you have to start him,
I guess what we really need to think about is these. So it changes based on your team. Let's try to think about these guys in a vacuum for just like your average depth team.
So he's probably drafted really high on a team, like you said.
If you like most people, if they have him, they're probably going to start him this week.
Yeah, which I understand. He's
Yeah.
probably going to get 10 plus touches, which is enough for him to do something.
So he's a flex guy.
And he might drop in for a touchdown too.
Right.
So I could understand you starting him.
So Matt is not starting him just based on his team, which this is a special case because Matt actually owns Fournette, so he can kind of settle this to his team.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that if I had Fournette, I would probably look to start him this week. I think he's going to continue that probably long touchdown bottom, some trust there with Brady and Arians. Like, Britt's going to say that he thinks Jones is the same talent as Fournette. He's wrong. He's wrong.
You're right.
All right, but Fournette's the more talented guy. He shows it. So I'm probably starting Fournette this week if I had him on my team.
Okay, would you start Fournette over James Robinson, Ryan?
Well, I have that option right now.
No,
Get to the
I'm
Oh, you're
asking
talking about
Ryan.
Ryan. Okay.
Would I start Fournette or Robinson?
Yes.
I would probably start Robinson this week.
Okay.
They're playing the Dolphins.
That's true. No, I agree. I think Fournette is a matchup guy, like Matt said, and it was promising that he got most of the carries, and because I mean they were like Rojo was getting the first carries, and that was a little worrisome. But I mean I think Fournette proved it, and they're going to play who Brady trusts. And like Matt was saying, Rojo got yanked after the fumble. Fournette's going to be the guy going forward, but I think he is matchup dependent. So that's my perspective.
Fair.
All right, next. He was drafted about the same time Fournette was. Running back for the Cleveland Browns. We were wondering how this kind of split was going to go. Would they both be playable? Would it be one guy jumping ahead every week? Kareem Hunt, 10 carries for 86 yards and a touchdown. 2 catches for 15 yards and a receiving touchdown. And this was a game where Chubb went off. All right, so they're showing. Now, it was the Bengals, who are pretty bad on defense. All right, but they're showing that they can coexist and both be startable caliber guys on fantasy. So if you had Kareem Hunt, are you starting him this week or are you keeping him on your bench?
No, starting him this is the same situation. It was like 3 or 4 years ago, I think, when Kamara and Ingram, they were both, I think, top 10 for sure running backs. Like Cleveland can easily do this. I think I'm going to still have Chubb higher than Hunt, but they're auto starts for me going forward.
I would say, Hunt, if he's on your team, you're definitely starting him in your flex.
Great
What about
flex.
if you own Chubb and Hunt? Do you dare do it and start both of them?
Yes.
It would have worked out last week, but there's going to be weeks where it fucks you. But I think the way this offense is built, how they're going to lean on the run, how Baker likes to throw to his running back some too, I think like there's going to be plenty of opportunity for them both to succeed at the same time every week. So I would say if you have Chubb and Hunt, I wouldn't hate it if you started both of them.
No,
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah. I think it's a start
not
this
real
week.
injuries either.
Yeah. Right. I think it's a start this week. You mentioned like Browns are going to lean on the run for sure, and they're playing Washington. Washington's not going to take the lead, so it kind of hurts Hunt in that way because Hunt would be the guy that got more play if they did take the lead. But we saw last week, got 10 carries. That's enough for him to do anything, and 2 touchdowns. So yeah,
And he's showing some burst. Like he looks good out there. Him and Chubb both looked
top
great.
5 running back if he's on any other team.
That's right. Yeah. All right, next starter sit. Britt teased it earlier. James Robinson of the Jaguars has looked great in the starting role the first 2 weeks. 16 carries, 102 yards, and a touchdown to go along with 3 catches for 18 yards. I already kind of gave away my answer. They're playing the Dolphins this week. The only other option there is Chris Thompson, who's just a receiving back. Until Raquel Armstead comes back and at least shows me something, then I think James Robinson, like, this offense and this team is a lot better than people thought they were going to be.
Oh, yeah.
People thought they were going to be like in the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes. Gardner Minshew looks good. James Robinson looks like a good running back. All right, so I'm playing James Robinson this week and in the foreseeable future until, like I said, someone comes back and everything changes. But as of now, with the touches he's getting and how good he's looked, I'm playing him.
I mean, let's try and keep it in perspective. It's only been 2 weeks, but yes, I agree. Jaguars do look a lot better. Gardner Minshew is slinging the ball around. And yeah, I agree. This is a must start for Robinson playing Miami. Thursday night games are known to be a little weird, I guess you could put them. But I'm expecting a lot of points tomorrow night, and I'm starting Robinson. He's an easy flex guy for me.
There's only 2 ways that Thursday night games can go. They can either be like this last week, which was a shootout between the Bengals and Browns, a ton of points.
Great game. Great game.
or it's going to be like 13-10 and be the shittiest football game you've ever watched in your life.
It's gonna be raining in Miami. They're gonna be fumbling the ball.
But with that, like, whenever two bad NFL teams play each other, usually it's because their defenses are bad and there's a lot of points scored. Kind of like how I was trying to tell Turpin last. So I talked Turpin into betting the over last Thursday because I told him, I said, the Browns and Bengals are both pretty bad. When two bad teams match up, points get scored. I think this is going to be the same case Thursday night. Dolphins and Jaguars are going to put up more points than you think. Bet the over, guaranteed.
Especially with Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 47.5 right now. Vegas has it as -3 for, I think, so probably I don't know.
It started out as a pick 'em, and it's been bet to minus. Oh, we don't want to turn this into a betting podcast.
No, I'm just saying it's supposed to be a close game.
I was just going to say, with the way the public has already moved it to -3 Jaguars, you definitely want to hammer the Dolphins at +3, is what that means.
Yes. And we only bet for fun. If you do have a problem, 1-800-GAMBLER is a free confidential service.
Are you subtweeting anybody with that?
Gamble in moderation.
He was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Must start. Like, if you're gonna have James Robinson on your team and you're benching him this week, then you're never gonna play him ever. So might as well try to trade him. Miami gives up 5 yards per carry against the run. They've played the Bills and the Patriots, who aren't very good running teams. I guess the Bills are in a sense, but they haven't been lately. If they're giving up 5 yards per carry to like Sonny Michel and Devin Singletary, then James Robinson's gonna smash here.
Yeah, I'm starting. All right, next, a receiver on the rise. You might remember my sleeper receiver of the year. I drafted him.
We never talked about it.
Huh?
I'm just saying he didn't make our top 100, which is
no. But when we talked about
that's right.
he was my sleeper wide receiver for the year. Diontae Johnson.
No, he did.
He was my sleeper. Diontae Johnson has emerged as the top receiver for the Steelers this year. 8 catches, 92 yards, and a touchdown. I think I looked it up today. He's 4th in the league in targets with 23 targets, I think. 4th in the NFL in targets.
Out-targeting Juju, too.
Right. So you've kind of heard it before that people say, is Juju a number 1? No, he's more like a number 2. Is Diontae Johnson really going to be the number 1 this year there in Pittsburgh?
No.
Okay. But maybe he's not the number 1, but are you starting him if you have him?
Against the Texans?
Against the Texans? I'll put it this way. I have Diontae Johnson, and I have a lot. Like, I have Tyreek Hill and Lockett, who are auto starts pretty much. And then I like T.Y. Hill and Devontae Parker. I have some fringe, flex wide receivers. I'm starting Diontae Johnson this week over those guys.
I don't hate you for it. Like, Texans played Tyreek Hill and Malcolm Brown as their like speed guys, downfield guys. And the only reason they didn't score more is because they just blew us out of the water to begin with. I think this game will be a little bit closer than those two games, so they should throw the ball more than
I've learned
than
anything
the Chiefs
in
and
my
Ravens have.
18 years of watching Houston Texans football, I know that we can't stop the pass ever. And we can't cover any receivers, especially with our cornerbacks now. Look for Diontae Johnson to have another big game. I'm starting him this week. And until he shows me otherwise with that Steelers offense, I'm probably starting him moving forward. As long as he's getting those targets. Like I said, 4th in the NFL in targets right now on a throw-first team.
It's crazy. Big Ben healthy. That offense looks so much better.
He's basically like a mini Antonio Brown right now. Like a lighter version 2.0.
Yeah. Let's emphasize that, yeah.
All right, so our first 4 guys, we all said start. I thought maybe one of us would say sit on one of those guys.
I like all their matches.
Let's go into some a little bit deeper reaches here. And Britt, the moment Britt's been waiting for. He's been telling us for 2 seasons.
No, don't give it to him.
He's been telling us for 2 seasons.
Not
It's
yet.
coming.
Not yet.
All it took was a broken finger and broken ribs for him to get his chance. But Darrell Henderson Jr., 12 carries for 81 yards and a touchdown. Also 2 catches for 40 yards. So Britt just actually dropped his boy last week. He dropped him last week. And of course he would go off this week where Britt wishes he would have kept him. Matt picked him up instead.
It's my boy. I've loved Henderson this entire time.
He's been a huge
Smash
Henderson
spot.
fan. Are you starting Henderson this week?
Hey, start him over Robinson. Prove it.
Okay, well, I love Robinson a lot more. Against the Bills, look, the way to beat the Bills is to actually run the ball against them, but I'm not starting him this week. And if you had to, like, as a flex option, like a deep flex, I get it because their other two running backs are banged up.
I'll tell you why I don't hate it. Neither one of them even practiced today. They're both trending towards out for the week. And so if he is the only guy,
then yeah,
like his value shoots way up.
Yeah, but I mean, Deontay Johnson didn't practice yesterday or today either.
He didn't practice last week either.
Reddit likes to say it's Wednesday.
If you don't practice Wednesday, it doesn't mean shit. But I'm saying they're saying Cam Akers is kind of day to day with it wasn't a broken rib. It was rib cartilage is what they're saying. And then Malcolm Brown apparently, I guess he dislocated his finger or broke it, but apparently he's gonna play. I think is what I've been reading. So
yeah, what do you need to hold a football?
Does scare me a little bit more.
Fingers.
I wouldn't start him. Do what?
I said, what do you need to hold a football? Fingers.
Oh, I mean, is it his dominant hand? I that's what I was confused about. But the thing is, like, Akers in the game, too. They started the game off with Akers, and he did get hurt, so Henderson was able to come in. Like, I guess I'm reading too much into what McVay said. Like, he said they want to go do a running back by committee, and that's the only thing that scares me. But like Ryan and Matt were saying, if Akers is out for an extended period of time and Malcolm Brown's out, Henderson has potential to be a top 10 running back, like, in that offense.
I'll trade him to you.
Well, let me see what Malcolm Brown and Akers if they practice tomorrow.
I love that pickup by me. I'm a genius.
I would say that in a specific situation, I'm not going to hate on you for starting him, but I'd say probably in a normal situation, you probably still have guys that are better that you can play. So maybe, I guess we all kind of said he's kind of a sit for us, but we're not going to hate it if you start him, I don't think. In our 20-team league, which is a completely different story and not related at all, we are starting him in our flex this week, and we might have the best team in that league now.
No, we do.
Our team is pretty damn deep for a 20-team league.
We always got the best team.
Always the best. The best. All right, let's go to some more names. Hey, we shit on this guy last week, the backup to Blake Jarwin who went out. Dalton Schultz, though, responds. 10 targets, 9 catches, 88 yards, and a touchdown. We know the way tight ends go. They've been this way forever. Is he, would you start him if you didn't have one of those dominant tight ends this week? Would you take a chance on playing him?
With tight ends this year, we've always said tight ends isn't very deep, but this year might be the deepest tight end has ever been.
Every position's deep. We said it preseason.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But you have other guy like Gesicki. I guess people are high on Gesicki, but
look at my boy. Fant's been incredible.
Yeah, Fant. You could pick up tight ends pretty late. Who are they playing this week? I can't.
They're playing the
Seahawks.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, that's right. It's one of the highest over-unders of the week again. The reason he did so well last week is because Dallas went down by 29-10 or something insane.
It happened again this week.
It could, but the Falcons are notorious for blowing leads. Irrelevant, but I just wanted to throw that out there. I don't expect him to get the target share he did if the Cowboys can stay in the game more, because they're not going to be throwing the ball near as much. So I'm not starting him.
Yeah, and let me tell y'all something about y'all mentioned Noah Fant and Gesicki. In Dallas, there's CeeDee Lamb, Gallup, and Cooper as receiving options, and you have a dominant running back. In Miami, there's Devontae Parker and Preston Williams, then you have Gesicki. And then Noah Fant is the only guy there now, along with, Jerry Jeudy, yeah, and KJ Hamler. So this is a joke, I guess, if we're doing that one, but I'm not playing Dalton Schultz. I think it was a fluke. I don't see him being a startable tight end, I guess is what I'm saying.
Fair enough. So Dalton Schultz is a sit for us.
I'll say
too many targets there.
If you're playing Dalton Schultz this week, please DM us on Instagram or comment below, and we'll tell you a better tight end to play.
Unless you're in a 20-team league.
Unless you're in a 20-team league.
I'm going to play Gesicki. I think Gesicki has a great matchup versus Jacksonville, and I picked him up off waivers.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, let's get to another Cowboy. Britt just mentioned him. CeeDee Lamb finally emerged this last week. 6 catches, 106 yards. With the way that Gallup has started out kind of slow, do you feel better about CeeDee Lamb than you did preseason? Because, Cooper's still the guy there, but could CeeDee Lamb do enough in this offense to warrant a flex play? Now, granted, we're talking about the Cowboys again, who had to throw it 50 times to catch back up to the Falcons. That's not always going to be the case. But if you're looking for a game where they have to throw a lot, it would be the Seahawks again. Seahawks are probably a better team.
I'm going to tell y'all something. You only hear this from Fantasy and Chill, right? Seahawks have a backup slot corner playing this week, and CeeDee Lamb runs most of his routes from the slot. So this is going to be a smash spot for CeeDee Lamb. I think the over-under was, 55? Tons of points going to be scored.
So you're starting him.
I'm starting him.
Ooh.
I'd probably, if you had him and Gallup, I wouldn't hate you if you started him over Gallup.
That's a tough call. I mean, I wouldn't want to make that call because that's going to be one of those calls you got to like wrestle over every week.
No, yeah. I wouldn't own both of them. I'd try to trade one of them.
Turpin is the Lamb owner in our league. I think last time I checked his lineup, he is starting CeeDee Lamb this week. Just to put that in perspective.
Yeah. I mean, I don't hate. He's gotten the easier matchups out of all the wide receivers that they have, which is why he's done so well early in the season.
No, he actually took CeeDee Lamb out and is starting Robbie Anderson over him.
Robbie Anderson's been good too.
Yeah, he is. So star for you, Britt, against Seattle?
Oh, I love the matchup. I mean, on my team, I'm not starting him, but I do like the potential there. I mean, I still believe in Gallup a little bit, and I think it's just going to be. I think Amari is the number one. He's going to get fed, and then it's going to be Gallup or CD go off. I don't think they can support 3 wide receivers on that team and the tight end. I don't see them giving up that many points like they did this past weekend and having to throw the ball like that. So, especially with Zeke, like I think they can run the ball, control the game. So, to me, Gallup and CD Lamb are still there. I'd probably lean Gallup this weekend though over CD.
Right. Next guy filling in. We know the 49ers got just ravished with injuries this week. Mostert's going to be out. Kevin Coleman we put on the IR. So that leaves old Jarrett McKinnon, who has not played in over 2 years, has emerged, is probably the starting running back this week. He filled in last game when they both went out. 3 carries for 77 yards and a touchdown. He did have the long conversion on that 3rd and 31. But he will be the starting running back this year for the 49ers, a run-first team playing against the Jets. Are you starting Jarrett McKinnon this week if you own him?
Playing against the Giants. They just played against
the Jets. They just played the Jets. They're playing the Giants. Correct.
I mean, if I did have, like, running backs are at such a high premium right now. So it's really situation dependent. I don't like McKinnon at all. But if you did have McCaffrey or Saquon going down, I would have no problem starting McKinnon.
Yeah. With all the injuries this week or this past week, you can start McKinnon and feel okay about it. Now, the Giants' run defense is really good. Haven't given up a single rushing touchdown yet. And if they do this week, it's probably going to be to Jeff Wilson. So
that's true.
I like the matchup. Giants are not a good football team. 49ers are going to be running the ball, especially with Jimmy G maybe out and Nick Mullins starting.
God, there's so many injuries.
Like this could be the Jarrett McKinnon show really on Sunday. So if you're ever going to start him, it's this week. I think with the amount of the workload he's going to get, he will be playable. He'll score double-digit points. So I'll say start.
And I'm telling you what you do. If you own Jarrett McKinnon and he has a great week this weekend, you trade his ass immediately.
If someone will take him, yeah. I mean, Mostert's going to be coming back next week maybe. So if someone takes him, I get it.
Trade him to the Mostert owner.
Find your taco in your league and go trade him.
Okay, next player. Started off the year. He was Matt's running back sleeper this year. Joshua Kelley of the LA Chargers. He had 23 carries this week for 64 yards. Terrible efficiency there. But 2 catches for 49 yards. 25 touches this week. He's actually been way more involved than anybody thought he would be. He's basically splitting time with Eckler. With Herbert playing, the offense looked a lot better. They have a good matchup this week versus the Panthers. I actually own Kelley, and I actually might be starting him over Singletary this week.
Damn.
Like I'm fighting with that decision, Kelley or Singletary. Kelley's gonna get a workload. They should be up with the way no McCaffrey for the Panthers. I look for them to run the ball a lot. I really like Kelley this week, and like I said, this is gonna be a game time decision for old coach over here, but I might be plugging him in for Singletary.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember us talking about him after week 1 when he had 12 carries for 60, and I think I said this. I was like, could Kelley be the Melvin Gordon in this offense where they just don't trust Eckler to be the guy there. You know what I'm saying? The workhorse running
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
And I think that's what we're seeing here now. Like 23 carries, like that's insane. And Kelley definitely has value going forward. I'm starting him in the flex. I mean,
I
over
guess
Singletary, that's a tough one. I'd probably lean with it though. I mean, they have a great
lean with
matchup
it.
with
You
Carolina.
rock with it too?
You lean with it and rock with it.
And Jacobs and Fournette both dominated Carolina.
Jacobs,
Carolina's
Fournette, Ronald Jones had a touchdown. Shit, I could have went in the backfield, had a touchdown.
Yeah.
You play your running backs against the Panthers. They might have the worst run defense I've seen in the past 5 years. So.
Or do I start Singletary and Kelley and not start Diontae Johnson? My team's too deep. I have these
this
decisions
week.
to make,
yeah. When you have a deep team, you don't have questions like that. But yeah,
that's true. I don't mind starting Kelley this week. We're not going to help.
I don't mind it either at all.
All right, couple more guys. With Will Fuller, another hamstring injury, predictable. With him going out, Brandon Cooks maybe finally got involved this week for the Texans. 5 catches, 95 yards. Will Fuller's questionable right now. If Will Fuller does not play, Cooks will be the number 1 option. We know how Deshaun Watson has handled number 1 options in the past. Look at Hopkins the last 4 years, and then look at Will Fuller week 1. So if Brandon Cooks is the clear-cut number 1 option, he's going to be getting a ton of targets. They'll probably be down to the Steelers, who do have a good secondary, but that really hasn't mattered with the way that the Texans throw the ball when they're down. Cooks will get the targets, so are you starting Brandon Cooks this week? Has he done enough to show you?
No, not at all. And I think Pittsburgh is just going to murder them. I think Deshaun Watson's going to be running for his life. I really don't like. If Will Fuller plays, I'll start him and then David Johnson. And then I don't even know. Watson, that's kind of a tough matchup for him, too. I just do not like. Everyone predicted this from the Texans offense, and I don't see it. I think getting rid of Hopkins was the worst thing they could have done.
I'm just going to guess that you probably have better options than Cooks because you probably weren't starting the first 2 weeks and you found another option to plug in for him there. So you're probably not going to start him this week either. And the only way you would is if Will Fuller's out. If Will Fuller plays, I'm not starting.
Let me say this about the Texans. All right, so you see my shirt. Texans.
This backwards. This Snack X.
All right.
Snacks.
Anyways, the Texans, whether or not you think they're a good football team or not, they have the toughest first 3 weeks in the NFL. Can we agree with that? Chiefs, Ravens, Steelers.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
The team is not as bad as you are seeing. All right. Now they're worse than those 3 teams, so they're going to lose. But what I'm saying is, after they lose to the Steelers on Sunday, all those players' values are going to be down.
Buy low.
It's a good team to target their players. If you can get the Deshaun Watson guy to trade you, if you can get David Johnson, if you can get maybe Will Fuller, I don't know about the receivers as much, but definitely Watson is not going to have a great game on Sunday. That owner is going to be pissed that he just got 3 mediocre games from Watson when he drafted him high.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to go off after those games, all right? The schedule lightens up big time. They're going to come off playing those 2 top defenses. So if you do like the Texans, target them after this week because they're going to do a lot better after they play the Steelers.
I like it. I love that take, Ryan.
I was about to say the same thing. First good take you've had.
Oh yeah, first ever.
Yeah. I don't mind targeting their receivers either if you're going to go
they're more hit and miss, but definitely Deshaun Watson and David Johnson. After they have shit weeks this week against the Steelers, go target them, get those players on your team because they're definitely going to ramp it up after that.
Agreed.
All right, 2 more players. Hot name going into the season, Antonio Gibson of the Washington football team. He had 13 carries for 55 yards and a touchdown. Also added 1 catch for -3 yards. But Antonio Gibson, so we have Peyton Barber scoring the 2 touchdowns week 1. Gibson got a little bit more touches this week than he did week 1. So are we seeing enough from Gibson yet to maybe throw him into a flex, or we still want to wait and see with him?
So hyped up before the season.
I mean, was he though? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you listen to all the fucking retards on Twitter, or I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. Can you cut that?
Nope.
If you listen to all the idiots on Twitter, then look, Darius Geis was going to be the starter there, okay? And then they just had this guy who didn't really get a lot of work at Memphis, and then they're saying, oh, he's an athletic freak, this and that.
He's the next McCaffrey.
I would have loved to see Geis is the bell cow like they planned on, and this is the change of pace, little scat back. I would have liked to see what that offense looked like under Ron Rivera. Darius Geis had to go beat his girlfriend or whatever, ruin everything. So now we get this shit show with Peyton Barber and J.D. McKissick and Antonio Gibson.
We were talking during the game.
McKissick he had a few highlights where red zone would cut over. We're like, damn, McKissick's running the ball pretty well. But
yeah,
I mean, Antonio Gibson's still the guy to own in this offense just because his potential is so much higher. But are you starting him yet this week? That's going to be – you'd have to be pretty hurt by injuries to have to throw him in, I think.
Which you might be.
Yeah.
You might be.
You might be, but I'm not touching him. And he has Baltimore next week, the Rams after that. Schedule does lighten up in week 6, 7. You got the Giants and Cowboys, but as the quarterback play for them is just it's hurting them.
Yeah, if you can afford to wait, then I would just stash, like we said last week, stash him on your bench and go from there.
Last name, probably the number one waiver pickup of the week. We talked about him in our waiver episode 2 days ago. Mike Davis filling in for the injured Christian McCaffrey. He will be getting the start. He will be getting the majority of the running back touches. He had a carry for a yard, 8 catches for 74 yards. Panthers are playing the – why did I just lose it?
The Chargers.
The Chargers, yeah.
Chargers.
Are you starting Mike Davis with what you just had to spend on him to get him in your waiver wire?
Yeah, I'm assuming you're a McCaffrey owner and you had to go get him, so you're probably starting. The 8 catches on 8 targets for 74 yards versus Tampa Bay is very promising because Tampa Bay was very good versus running backs last year. So you're kind of in a situation where you have to. So, I mean, I don't mind it. Because Teddy Bridgewater, like, he's shown he can be competent. They have Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore. Like, they can move the ball down the field. And so if Davis can get those dump offs like McCaffrey, he has a solid floor, I guess is what I'm saying.
I like Mike Davis starting this week. I like him starting as long as McCaffrey's out because I think just the way that offense is, whoever's at running back is going to be productive for them. So I like starting him for these next 4 or 5 weeks however long McCaffrey's out. So I'd say,
They did put McCaffrey in IR today, too.
Yeah. And like I said, if you got Mike Davis, you probably just spent a decent amount of your fab on him. So you kind of what do you
spent that money for a reason.
If you're not starting him, then why did you get him? Basically, because if you're not going to start him now, you were never going to start him to begin with. So if you paid for him, you're playing him. Start him this week, and he's going to get the goal line carries. So
the Chargers might have the 2 best corners in the league with Casey Hayward and Chris Harris Jr. So they might shut down DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and the only option that's available is Mike Davis. So you can get a lot of PPR points if you're playing in a PPR league. Standard, I don't know if I like it as much, but you're probably going to have to start him either way.
Right.
We done with the start sit?
Yeah, that wraps up our start sit.
No, here, let me...
Brett wants to use his own team real quick.
No, I want your thoughts on Devonta Freeman signing with the Giants.
I guess we can address that whole. So on the waiver wire episode the other day, we talked about Dion Lewis and Wayne Gallman. We mentioned Devonta Freeman because there were rumors that he was going to sign. He signed shortly after we recorded. If you're looking for a guy to start this week, I think it's Dion Lewis by far. But if you're looking moving forward, who's most likely to emerge from that and just gain a stranglehold on the position, it's Devonta Freeman. He's shown in the past he can do it. Give him a few weeks to get more in tune with the offense. Now, saying that, this offensive line is terrible. I don't know how valuable he's going to be running behind him because we saw
Saquon can't run.
When the Falcons had a bad offensive line toward the end of his time there, and he was not good his last 2 seasons in Atlanta.
No.
Yes, and I guess what I want to warn people is, like, look, Saquon, I mean, like, Giants had a very tough schedule so far. Pittsburgh and Chicago, both those defenses have been somewhat decent in the past few years. They still have San Francisco and the Rams to go. They do play Dallas, and then they have Washington, Philly, Tampa Bay. But Freeman is a flyer for me. I don't mind him because I think he is going to be the bell cow there for them. But he's had an injury history with concussions and whatnot, so he's worth a flyer, but definitely not starting him this
week. If you're in a bind this week, I don't hate starting Dion Lewis just because he's probably going to get the most carries and targets out of those guys as far as him and Gallman. Gallman didn't even play last week. He was inactive. So if you need a spot start, I don't hate starting Dion Lewis this week. But like I said, as soon as Devonta Freeman gets comfortable, will that be 2 weeks? Will that be 3 weeks? Will that be 4 weeks? I don't know. But eventually he's going to probably be the guy there.
Yeah, I agree with it. Yeah, you're going to have to keep on your bench for a while. And I want to end the episode with a question that came in 15 seconds ago on YouTube. So if you made it this long, ask questions on YouTube. We might answer them during the video.
Oh.
Are you going to start CeeDee Lamb?
Wait. You're going to say that and not even say the guy's name? Like, give him a shout out?
Andrew Carson.
Right.
There you go. Maybe he doesn't want to be doxxed, man. Should I start CeeDee Lamb against Seattle or Devontae Parker against the Jags this week? I just want quick answer. Which one?
Devontae Parker.
I was not expecting that from Britt, actually. Yeah, I'll probably go Devontae Parker just because he's got way less competition.
Yeah, I agree.
But watch out for the hamstring of Devontae Parker, all right? It's a tough injury. He could tweak it and be out of the game, and then you're fucked. So, yeah, that's the end of our start-sit segment.
He does not have an injury designation, so that's a good sign.
Hopefully everybody's 2-0 that's been listening. With kickoff Thursday Night Football tomorrow night. Barn burner of a game, Jaguars-Dolphins, like we talked about. Good luck this week. Hope everybody wins. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Apple Podcasts. We've been putting these episodes on there too. And we out.
Yeah.
We out.